welcome to the Takarazuka Fan Podcast, an English-speaking podcast where Takarazuka fans from around the world come together to squee and to talk about Takarazuka. My name is Becca, and I'm from California.
And I'm Carly, I'm from New York.
And this is Jen from New York.
I'm Heidi, I'm from Boston.
Right. So I guess, we're all coming from American time zone today. That's kind of unusual.
But very helpful.
Yes.
This is Heidi's
Thank
first
you
podcast.
for having me.
Hi, Heidi.
I'm a fairly new fan compared to you guys, so I actually had my official Takarazuka anniversary this past Friday. 2 years.
Congratulations!
On my first show. Thank you! Yay! So thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Becca, for inviting me along. Very excited.
No, thank you for coming, and thank you to everyone else for letting me bully them into doing this episode, which is going to be all about Hokushou Kairi and Hinami Fuu. But first, let's all talk about what's making us happy in Takarazuka. Not really this week, more like this month or the last couple of months. So mine would be, the news came out, today is November 6th, so earlier this week, that Juri Sakiho, who is a Takarazuka OG, was cast in the role of Paulette in the Japanese musical production of Legally Blonde, which trivia in Japanese is Cutie Brondo. And I love the Legally Blonde movie, and Paulette is the hairdresser that Elle, the Reese Witherspoon's character, befriends, and she's kind of this, like, adorably, like, kind of trashy Boston, but, like, just really sweet older woman, and it's just such a perfect role for Judy, and I wish I was in Japan so I could see it. Yes.
That's going to be outstanding.
Aww.
If we're going with happy things of the month, I guess I can say, I think I was the last person on the planet to finally watch Don Juan, but it met the hype. I have not, I think, well, I was going to say unbiased. I can't be unbiased watching Don Juan, but even if I try to be unbiased, I think that was one of, objectively the best shows I've watched in a really long time. It was really, really strong, and I wanted to start it from the beginning as soon as it ended, except it was midnight. And I've been so busy, I haven't had a chance to watch it again, and that's making me grumpy.
It's okay, you're not the last person I haven't seen it yet. But
I haven't seen it yet either.
I haven't seen it. So actually, you're the only person on this podcast who has seen it.
Oh.
I'll take it.
So I guess my happy thing is that since I'm a pretty big fan of Hanagumi, their next Grand Theater show starts this Friday. Golden Desert, and then their review is actually the Nihonmono review, Sekasho, I think. I have no idea what to expect because they haven't really released any information about this show, so but I'm very excited to see some of the first day pictures, and hopefully they'll release a first day video as well. And then also related to Hanagumi, I'm a big fan of Serigatoa, the Nibante, and she finally is getting her own small theater lead show. She's the only one of the Nibante that hasn't had one yet.
Yay!
Yay.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
I don't want to say who, but I was at a Hanagumi Ochakai when I was in Japan a while ago, and I'll just say that even the Seito whose Ochakai I was attending couldn't say Sekasho because it's such a weird kanji.
Oh, good. I was like, what was that?
I have to say I'm super excited about it though, because I was putting in all the staff members' names on the Takawiki, and all of the choreographers for Senkasho are the usual hard old school Nihonmono dance. So it's all the Hanayagi members. So I'm super excited. It sounds like it's going to be kind of a more traditional Nihonmono review, which they haven't really done in a while. They keep trying to modernize it, which I don't know. I know a lot of people like them, but I'm kind of no, bring back the Japanese dads. So
I love Nihonmono reviews. They're beautiful.
Jen, what would you consider a more traditional Nihonmono review?
Where it's actually Japanese dance rather than like, I'm thinking of some of the more recent Nihonmono reviews. They've had like more of a modern dance choreographers doing the numbers, and it's kind of like Japanese dance music in the background, but they're doing like something that's not Japanese dance, or they're doing Japanese dance but it's to like modern pop music or something like that. So I'm always like, I mean, it's cool, you got to go with the times, obviously, but like I think one thing that a lot of people don't realize is like the Takarazuka theater, like they actually sent people out to like find all of these famous regional Japanese dances. Like I can't remember when this was, like the 30s, 40s, and 50s, I think. And they kind of adapted them into their school. And like, so they were like the preservers of Japanese dance in some ways for a long time. And I feel like they've lost that in the last 30 years. So it's really cool to, when they come out with something that's a little more traditional. It makes me excited.
Yeah.
That is exciting.
I've got one more thing to do and then I'll give up. So my happy thing is also based on the new Hanagumi show because they released the Shinjin Koen roles, and they actually added 2 roles just for the Shinjin Koen, which are like flashbacks of the leads. So Gi and Taruha Mine, however you say that, like it's them as children. So I'm guessing there's going to be a scene in the Shinjin Koen that is not in the regular performance, and that makes me excited.
Oh, interesting.
Because usually they'll
so
trim scenes out to make the Shinjin Koen a little shorter so it's not too crazy for the cast, but it sounds like they're more adapting it for the cast, which is something that doesn't happen very often. So
yeah, I saw the list. Someone translated the list on Tumblr the other day, and I was like, what? So that'll be really interesting to see.
I'm interested to see what Golden Desert is like because I think it's Ueda Kumiko's first show since Hoshiai Hitoyo, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. So and that was, I don't know, that was kind of like her, I think, defining. I know she's a newer director, but I think that was kind of like her defining piece of her career in Takarazuka so far. So I've been looking forward to see how she even evolves from that.
I remember when Al, my partner, and we go to see all the shows together. So if I say we a lot, I'm referring to Al. So like when we were planning to go see, we wanted to go see Hokushou Kairi and Hinami Fuu's last show, and we went in September. We were trying to figure out when we wanted to go because we love Hanagumi. We wanted also to go see Hanagumi. But we like read the description for Golden Desert. It had just come out when we were making our plans. We were like, this doesn't really sound like something we want to see. But then I heard that recently I heard that it was the same director as Hoshiai Hitoyo, and I was like, oh man, no, I bet it'd be really good. So now I'm kind of like sad that we didn't go see it, but we got to see a bunch of other really cool stuff. So it was a good trip regardless. But yeah.
All right.
Cool. Oh, you know what? I'm looking at the official website right now, and this is really interesting. This doesn't happen very often, but with the timing of when this show is, there's a bunch of like the Ken 1, like the new members of the review, because they joined so young. Like some of them are still like just out of middle school, and so they're so young that for labor laws they can't go into extra rehearsals. So it looks like for this performance they're gonna have a couple of those. So those young ladies will not be able to go to the extra Shinjin Koen performances, so they will not be in the Shinjin Koen. It doesn't list names of who it's going to be, but yeah, it looks like there's a couple.
Oh, that's true. Okay, yeah, because if they entered when they were 15 and they graduate when they're 17, you're right. That's kind of a bummer for those actresses, though, because, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, it's not fun to have to rehearse 16 hours a day, but wouldn't you feel like you had kind of lost out on an opportunity? I don't know.
Yeah.
Darn those labor laws.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that they're there. Like I don't really want 17-year-olds to be up until 4 in the morning rehearsing, but just, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So actually, that segs pretty well into our topic today, believe it or not. So we are talking about how Hokushou Kairi and Hinami Fuu are retiring. And so Michan was actually one who joined TMS really early. So she only graduated middle school when she came in, and so while I don't know what her actual age is, she was very, very young when she came into the review. And not only that, but she also knew almost nothing about Takarazuka when she came in. Have you guys ever seen her video on the TMS website?
I have not.
I think I saw it once a long time ago.
Yeah, I'll have to find it and put up a link. But so basically, Michan, she was going along in middle school, and her homeroom teacher was a Takarazuka fan and said, "Oh, well, you're really tall, so maybe you should do this Takarazuka thing." And until then, she hadn't really done anything. I mean, I think she played, like, trombone or something like that. But so with only a couple of months until the TMS exam, she, took some dance lessons. So she showed up to the exam. She passed the first round without having ever seen a Takarazuka show. It wasn't until before the second round that she actually, she went, I think she saw, it was something by Hoshigumi with the word rainbow in it. Anyone? All right, this would have been like around, I'll find it later. So then she went and saw it. And then she did the second round. I think she said that she had a cold that day, and she was, like, utterly convinced that she had failed, and then she got in. So, I don't know if anyone heard, this was maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, they changed some of the entrance criteria for Takarazuka, so it was a little bit less based on skills and a little bit more based on whether or not someone had kind of that star power or not. And I know some people complained at the time that they thought, now it's just going to be about who's, really idol-like and it won't have anything to do with talent. But Michan, ironically enough, is one of those people who really, I think, just got in based on the fact that some director or entrance review person looked at her, and even though she really knew nothing at the time, thought, okay, maybe she can do something.
I was just going to say, I bet she got in just based on her smile.
Or her voices. I have the Rainbow Show. It's called The Story of a Sword, Love, and a Rainbow.
Oh, yeah.
Starring Asaji Saki.
Ah, okay.
And Shiraki Ayako.
That's not a Takarazuka title. I don't know what is.
Yeah. So Fuu, on the other hand, is, kind of comes from a different trajectory where I was, it's funny, so I was reading up something with Fuu, and even though she and Michan are like, about 11 years apart in Gakunen, like, I think Fuu saw her first Takarazuka show right around the same time as Michan, so it just goes to show that Fuu was a Takarazuka fan from a very young age, and she's from Osaka. So I hear that she speaks Kansai Ben when she is, not doing official things. And so compared to Michan, she's just been a huge Takarazuka fan all of her life.
Osaka Ben suits her.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
So let's see. So, Jen, I know you've seen a lot of Michan's kind of early Tsukigumi days, where she was up until 2006. So, I'm just going to put you on the spot. What are your impressions?
So, yeah, I mean, when I first became a fan, that was, like, right around the time of, like, 2004, 2005. And so I really fell in love with the Tsukigumi of that time, like, especially with Shibuki Jun or Riko as top star. And Michan was kind of the understudy for a lot of the stars in that era, and so because that was like the time that Michan was doing her Shinjinko and leads, she was always that cute sidekick in the main shows. So like my early impressions of her was, it's another one of those cute otokoyaku who's always like standing either right beside or right behind the top stars, even though they didn't have a lot of lines. They were there smiling, looking very cute. And I was going back, like, my memory is awful. So I went back through, like, the journal, because I used to be much better about, like, recording my impressions of shows as I watched them. And I wrote at one point that, like, one of my first impressions where Michan really stood out for me was in the TCA special in 2004, which was the 90th anniversary of Takarazuka.
Yeah.
So they did a lot of, like, the older Takarazuka music in that TCA special. And Michan had a solo of one of my all-time favorite Takarazuka songs. And so that's when I first noticed her voice, and I was like, oh, this is one to keep an eye on. But yeah, so my early impressions of Michan were big otokoyaku, cute smile, amazing voice.
And so speaking of Rika, she, I think is very attached still to Shibuki Jun. So I overheard that, during, it was one of Rika's dinner shows about 2 years ago. Apparently Rika told the story that, like, Michan actually called her up, when the announcement was made that she was going to be top star and that she was going to be doing some of Rika shows.
Yeah. That does not surprise me.
Yeah, and Rika went on to say that, you know, she's lost track of a lot of the other, you know, people in Tsukigumi, but Michan still, like, regularly talks to her, and I think the relationship is still very much so that Michan looks up to Rika, you know, as this kind of goddess of how to be an otokoyaku.
You know, and I feel like that's, like, Michan's personality, too. Like, her offstage personality, she's always struck me as that person who builds connections with people.
Mm-hmm. There's also a really great story. Well, okay, I'm sure it was miserable at the time, but, so Michan got pulled in, to do understudy when Kirian went out sick, during Senior Donfon. Like, and Kirian was just out the entire Tokyo run, and it was also Michan's first Shinko lead. And so as she was trying to get ready for Shinko, you know, it was within, like, a week of the Tokyo run beginning that suddenly Kirian was out, and Michan had to do this role that she was understudying for. Now, most of the time, we only hear about understudies when someone has to actually come in. I think everyone learns the role, but I think it's kind of just a bare bones, okay, I could step in if I really had to. So Michan was just freaking out because she was trying to really study her Honkun role, and she was trying to get down this understudy role. And not only that, but these were two characters who talked to each other a lot. So she was getting to this point where she was just freaking out because she was, you know, she was messing up the lines and she couldn't remember who said what to who at what time. And so the story is that apparently Rika and Amy Kurata, who was the top musumeyaku at the time, actually, like, hung out backstage to help Michan with the Shinjin Koen, and I always thought that was so nice.
That's very nice.
So let's see. So Fuu was one of those top musumeyaku who I think everyone was a little bit, I don't want to say surprised when she became top star, but, okay, this is so embarrassing to admit. When the night that the announcement went up that Michan became top star, I had been, you know, just following her in Senka for the last few years, so I was at a point where I really felt like I didn't know any troops very well, let alone the musumeyaku, and I actually had to look up the name kanji for Fuu because I just didn't know it. And then once I saw it, I went, oh, okay, yeah, the musumeyaku is in South Pacific. I know who that is. But so Fuu was kind of an underdog to become top musumeyaku.
Yeah, I think I've heard stories that even she wasn't quite expecting it, Hinami Fuu. So I don't think it was just you who was surprised.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, Fuu had she had a couple of leads going up to that. She was Makaze Suzuho's partner in the Jekyll and Hyde adaptation. She was Tom's partner in South Pacific. She had a couple of Shinko leads, but she wasn't really a musumeyaku who was getting heavily promoted. Like, even in Dear Diamond, which was the last show for Chie, you know, she wasn't even the quote-unquote Nibante musumeyaku. It was Hanasaki Airi.
I think part of that might have been there were so many really talented young musumeyaku and hoshigumi that they were pushing at that time. It was like...
Yeah, to be a fly on the wall when these things were decided. But I think it was in... was watching some Sky Stage program, and even Michan, like, when she heard that it was going to be Fuu, she was relieved because, she felt like, okay, Fuu's someone who can really do well, and so they ended up making a good combination together.
So, can I ask a question as somebody who hasn't really watched Takarazuka a lot in the last, like, 4 or 5 years? Like, I've seen Hinami Fuu, like, in the background, but I don't really remember her doing things. Like, what are her strengths as a musumeyaku?
I would say that, she's a really good singer. The way I kind of describe her is that, on one hand, she reminds me a lot of Marimo, Ao no Yuki, in that she has this kind of mature charisma, but on the other hand, she's also this kind of Disney princess type, so if you manage to, like, fuse those two things together...
Yeah. I would say, I don't really know how to, like, put this into one adjective, but, like, she's definitely a Disney princess type, but she's also, like...
Yes.
I feel like she's very much herself. Like, she's not afraid to let her real personality show off stage, and she can be very dynamic on stage. Like, she's not necessarily, like, the sweet, supporting musumeyaku type. Like, she's a very strong partner that I think has her own strengths in addition to just, highlighting her partner's strengths.
Yeah, she can definitely hold her own, like, when there's scenes that are, like, just her without Michan, but even with scenes, obviously, with her and Michan is just so... She's just so Michan, she's so strong and powerful, especially as a stage presence, and so, but Fuu just, like, doesn't fade under that at all, so she's a really good person to pair with Michan for sure, so... we saw Guys and Dolls last year, and we just planned to go once, but loved the show so much we did switch it 2 more times. Actually, we did Touchy Me. We're like, let's just go again. And yeah, she was that was the first time I'd ever really known her, because we'd only ever seen Hanagumi before that, so and yeah, she just left such a really good impression. Like, she had really strong voice. Her acting was great. Just really, really loved her paired with Michan that time. So it was really, really good.
I think the other thing about Fuu is that, like Michan, she has a really strong work ethic. So I think that off the bat made them a really good combination.
Yeah, I get that impression.
Also, it's worth saying that Fuu adores Michan, so I think I would have liked her regardless, but the fact that she is, like, so blatant about, Hokushou-san is like a prince, and even in her Taidan speech for Daigekijo, she referred to Michan as Dana-sama, which means, like, husband. So it's just been really relieving as a fan, because being a top star is hard no matter which way you cut it. So to know that Michan was having a partner who really liked her and really supported her and was also doing her best alongside with her, it just made me feel a lot better.
You can also see, like, whenever she looks at Michan, even if it's, like, off stage or especially on stage, like, she looks at her and you almost think, like, Fuu's about to burst into tears because she just loves her so much.
She always has that look on her face, though, where she's just, like, so happy to be alive that she might cry.
Right.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about her.
Honestly.
Let's see. So I kind of talked about Fuu's, kind of unlikely path to top, but Michan had a really long and kind of weird path to becoming a top star. So Jen, you kind of talked about during Tsukigumi period that, back then I think she was definitely the type, she got lots of Bao leads and she got lots of Shinko leads, and, she really looked like she was primed to become, a top star pretty early on. I mean, not pretty early on, but, she was being very promoted.
I think the problem was she was, Yamato Yuga came up just after her.
Yes.
And Tani was being super pushed, even as, like, a Ken too. So I think...
Yeah.
Suddenly they had this overabundance of otokoyaku stars, and they didn't quite know what to do with everyone. And I think I love Michan, but she didn't quite have that star aura yet. And I think people started kind of passing over her because of that. when she needed more time to grow, and I think that's probably why they moved her to Sorogumi.
Well, now I'm trying to think, like, because when she got moved, that's kind of what allowed Masaki and Mirio to kind of step up into their place, now that I think about it.
Oh no, it wasn't even those two. It was still, they had Mano Sugata, they had
that's
Tani,
true.
Kirian, like there were all these people in that age group.
I thought they moved Michan to Sorogumi, like, during Tani's Sorogumi top era.
Yeah, they did. Like, when Michan came in, it was technically Kashige era, but she only was there. By era, I mean 6 months, woman. But, it's funny because I remember when I first came in as a fan, at the time people were upset because she basically jumped over Yumihiro Tomochin, who was a year older than her. But then she kind of what you were saying, Jen, about how she needed more time to polish her kind of charisma. So she started off as kind of the young interloper, and I remember on Live Journal I used to have to defend that, no, really, she's talented. Yes, I know she's young, but I swear she's still good. But then she, like, just hung out in that Sanbante position for, like, about 4 years because, because Tani retired and Yuhi came in, so there wasn't really room for her to laterally move up. And then Tomu was transferred out, but instead of Michan moving up one, Kaname came in. So, like, to be honest, like, this is where a lot of people's careers just end.
I feel like she played a lot of, like, she took on, like, the sort of colorful roles when she moved to Sorogumi. Like, I have not watched a lot of Tani's era, but, like, the handful of shows that I'm thinking of are Paradise Prince and Singin' in the Rain, and this isn't Tani, this is Yuhi, but Casablanca, she was in a fat suit
with the mustache.
I think it was Casablanca, and and I just remembered thinking, like, her Sorogumi era as, like, a tour of bizarre costumes. Like, I like, watch her and think, like, when am I gonna see her, like, be a real Chokoyaku?
I remember at the time, like, I would come over, because that was, like, 2007. I was going over to Japan a lot in 2008 and meet up with the fans that I hadn't talked to in a long time. And, of course, all the Tsukigumi fans were still gossiping about Michan because she just left recently. And this was the point where I remember, and I have to say, Japanese fans can be the most, I don't want to say vicious, but they're very, like, they have expectations, and they were like, I remember them saying this, and I have to say I don't agree with it at all, but Michan always was very laid back with her fans, like at Irimachi and Demachi, and, like, other otokoyaku would dress up in their like Gucci or whatever their brand name clothes were, and Michan would come with her, like, orange backpack and stuff, and the other fans would be like, she's not even trying, she's not gonna go anywhere, the review company has given up on her, and that's why she's getting all these crappy roles. And I was like, ouch. Like, and then Renault came along in Casablanca, and I got angry because, like, Claude Rains is one of my favorite actors, and I was like, Claude Rains is not fat, why does she need to be in a fat suit? And I remember, like, who was it? Who was the director? He was like, well, I wanted to give her gravitas. And I was like, that's bullshit.
That was Koike.
Gravitas?
Oh my god.
Jen, I have to say, even, and I say this with all of my, like, been to Japan 7 or 8 times just to see her heart, but she still dresses like that. And it's actually one of the things I love about her.
Michan's fashion always reminded me of, like in the early 90s, the otokoyaku would show up to Urimachi in, like, an oversized Mickey Mouse t-shirt and, like, belted pleated khakis, like that was cool or something. But, like, that was normal. That's how everybody was dressing. And I don't know, Michan was I don't know, transplanted from the Showa era or something.
Actually, I think that's a lot of her charm, actually. Like, that's what people say about her, is that she does have a lot of kind of Showa era charm.
She also kind of like reminds me of Tsurugi Miyuki in a lot of ways. So maybe that has something to do with
I feel
it.
like I heard a story with that backpack that it had something to do with, like, didn't she wear it on safety day or something? Do you remember this?
Maybe. I'd have to go and look. Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about.
Like,
and here I was going and saying I'm not gonna. Oh, her dad is in the
that's
is
what it
in
was.
Japan self-defense
so she
force.
was often like the spokesperson
Yeah.
for it when they did their like safety days or whatever.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
why she can drive
That's why
a
she can
tank.
drive a tank.
It makes
No,
a lot
no,
more sense in context.
No, she can
put
drive
that
a tank
together,
because
too.
she's a weirdo who, like, decided, hey, well, I guess this segs into our next topic, which is, Michan's bunch of, like, really weird hobbies. She kind of just collects.
Collect certifications. And
So one of them
licenses.
is, she didn't get her driver's license until much later on. I think I remember it was right around the time of, like, it was towards the end of Yuhi era, which, you know, she must have been in her late 20s, early 30s. Oh God, here I'm going, breaking the Sumeria code left and right. I don't know, I'm an American. I got my driver's license when I was 17, okay? So, like, she had 2 weeks off, so she just went and she did this intensive driver's course, and she got her license, yay. But then she went back a couple of years later, and she actually got, I don't know what it's called, but basically it was her certification for driving the really big vehicles, like including tanks. And like garbage trucks, you know, things
The
that
gigantic truck.
Yeah. And it was somewhere on Sky Stage or something. She was asked about this, like, you know, why did you do this? And her response was, job security.
Honestly, I don't know why I never thought of this until now, but if she doesn't drive a tank into the last day of Tokyo Urimachi, that is the most wasted opportunity.
I don't think it would fit.
I know. Sadly, it did not happen during Mura.
Oh man. That's true. A tank would not fit Urimachi.
But Michan does like to collect weird hobbies. Like, she started learning saxophone when she was done with Shinjin Koen era, in part because she just suddenly found herself with all of this free time, and in part because she just thought it would look really cool to have an otokoyaku up on stage playing sax.
I remember her
He's not
talking
wrong.
about that. Didn't she talk about that
That's
in her
true.
like dinner show? Wasn't that in like the All of Me? She's like,
Yeah,
I decided
yeah.
to learn the sax because I thought it would look good with an otokoyaku in a suit.
It's true.
It's funny, over the years I've collected a lot of Michan's dinner show posters and things like that, and I'm kind of surprised that when people come over to my apartment, they don't just assume she's a sax player, because she does so very often get photographed with her saxophone. So
Now, she played the piano too, didn't she?
I don't know.
She played the piano in one of her shows. Did she learn it for that, or did
Yes.
she already play the piano?
I think she already played some piano. But yeah, one of her kind of breakthrough moments was during The Second Life, and oh God, I love that show so much and all of its wonderful ridiculousness. But it's basically the movie Heaven Can Wait, like with some different plot points, but that's what it is. And so she is this pianist who has, you know, was died too early and is reincarnated in, you know, a different body, and so she's playing the piano, and that's how she convinces her true love that it's really her, and it's a really good moment. It's such a good show, like, so stupid, but I love it so much. Oh, but so, way back when I was talking about Michan's kind of long and funny road to the top, so she spent, you know, probably about 4 years as Sanbante, which I think would have just killed a lot of other careers, and Carly, you said that you have the most recent graph, right?
Yes, I do.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So she actually, and I love how, like, at the end we'll finally come clear about all this stuff. She said that there were a number of different times that she had just decided, okay, I'm going to retire. And then she would, like, run into a sensei in the elevator, and she would start to talk about it, and they'd be like, no, you really shouldn't do this yet.
Aw.
Thank you, Ikeda sensei, who apparently talked her out of it a couple of times.
Nice job.
Paid off.
And then in what I think, and granted I'm biased, is one of the weirdest, like, transfer moves. It was in 2012 when there was this just humongous amount of transfers. Like, it was a really big shakeup, and Michan was moved, of all places, into Senka. And I had been a Takarazuka fan for, like, a number of years at that point, but I still, like, had to look up the kanji for Senka just because it blew my mind so much. And since then, there's been a number of other Seito who have been moved into, what are we calling it now, like Shin Senka? I don't know.
No, I think it's just regular Senka.
I think at this point it's like, yeah. But Michan, at the time she was moved, was she the only, like, younger person in Senka?
She was the only young Star Trek person in Senka. People like Sao Kurama and Seijo Kaito didn't come until a few years later.
Yeah. So she kind of, like, I guess she started the we're putting younger people into Senka thing all over again.
See, yeah. That's the thing. Like, people think, oh, this is unusual. This has never happened before because they don't look back at the history. But, like in the 70s, they did the same thing. They took a whole bunch of, like, sanbante, yonbante, like, young actresses, and they put them all into Senka. I think it's just, like, once enough people have left the review, they've just got to fill Senka up again.
They do.
Yeah.
I think what felt so unusual is that, Shin, I think you guys talked about this on a previous episode, but Shin Senka had kind of just, like, filtered out at that point. No one was in it anymore, and it was just her who was doing this kind of weird path.
Yeah.
So we got what was essentially Shin Senka for a couple of years, and it was kind of then that Michan finally made her way kind of sneakily into this Nibante position, even though she wasn't the Nibante of any particular troupe. And I think even at that point, people were still wondering, okay, where is her career going to go? Mm-hmm. I'm, like, ridiculously paranoid on this topic, but I'm still convinced that Kaze no Jurikichi, which was her last lead before she made Top Star, that it was supposed to have been like a Titan send-off, but that's just me, and I'm really paranoid.
That's a great show.
I've heard that, I think, from not just you. Either that or I'm mixing up a conversation and I was talking to you that... But I think I've heard that.
I guess that would make sense if maybe for some reason they hadn't decided on who was going to be the next top for Hoshi at that point, because actually on the DVD at the very end when they're doing all the curtain calls, they say that she's, like, because it had been announced by then that she was going to be next top. So I wonder if it was written for her and then it just came up that she was going to be top. I don't know, because it is a very Michan show. So.
It is, and not only that, but the director, oh my god, I'm blanking on his name. How is this possible? He just did Oka.
Yeah,
oh my god.
Director. Saito Yoshimasa?
Yeah. So it was Saito Yoshimasa, who is a sensei who she really, really likes, and not only that, but she had talked about how Nezumi Kozo was a role that she always wanted to play. So at the time, this was in like 2013, I was like, oh, she's going to retire. And then it felt to me a little bit out of the blue that she was announced as Hoshigumi's next top star. I mean, I think everyone was convinced that it was going to be Kurenai Yuzuru.
Yeah. I thought that Michan was going to go to Tsukigumi.
Oh.
A lot of us did too, yeah.
I guess as a fairly young fan by that point, because again, my first show that we saw was Elizabeth, actually, so that was my very first strong introduction to Hokushou Kairi as Franz Joseph. And so that was that following, like, January that she did Kaze no Jurikichi with Hanagumi. And having been, like, still sort of really brand new, but still kind of absorbing a lot of information very quickly and learning about, like, especially Chie and then how long, like, Benny had been waiting to be top, I was like, it would be kind of weird to not have something in between. So, I mean, but again, I didn't have like that background a whole lot because I haven't been in Takarazuka very very long. So, but I still, even then, I was like, it would make a little bit of sense for them to put somebody even short term in there. So when they announced her, I was like, well, that's really awesome, because I loved her from Elizabeth, but even when they announced it, I was like, I bet it's a fairly short run, because I couldn't imagine like them making Benny wait that much longer. So who knows?
Well,
for a while before Tsukumi's next top after Masaki was announced, we were wondering, would Benny somehow go over to Tsukumi because first, like, people weren't sure about Tamakichi because she was so young, and then also, they thought Benny has to get a chance somewhere in here. But then once Tamakichi was announced, I figured Michan I always thought from the beginning it was going to be a pretty short run.
Whereas some people still think of Benny as a little brat.
Yeah.
I still am like, this is gonna be so weird.
Well,
so weird.
I feel like my sense of timing is still stuck in like the mid 2000s. So I hate to say it, I'm totally on that page. Even though poor Benny is now like older than us in terms of Gakunen for making top star. So one last kind of fun fact before we move on to a different topic, but someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. In terms of Gakunen, Michan is only second to Yuhi in the number of months as a Takarazuan it took to make top, and Yuhi only was about 1 month longer than her. So Michan was Ken. Let me look at this.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, so she was Ken 18. Yeah. And so she was because you always, even when you've just debuted, you're still Ken 1. So she was 17 years and 2 months when she became top, and Yuhi was 17 years and 3 months. So I think it's because I've been spending too much time listening to elections podcasts, but I was running some statistics before then, and by running statistics I mean getting averages, but I'm not Nate Silver. So the average Ken for becoming top is about 13, which I think sounds about right. So, and there's a number of stars who have become top after that, and they all kind of have somewhat shorter runs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Carly and I did an episode where we crunched a lot of facts. Carly, do you remember what episode that was?
Yes, it was the episode that we did when Tamaki Ryo became top star, because I think we were trying to prove that she was not off by all that much.
Oh, yeah. So that was episode 9. So if people find this kind of thing interesting, which I guess all of us who are really geeky about it do, yeah, check out episode 9. We crunched a lot of numbers.
A lot of numbers.
I don't know. I personally, obviously, I have an attachment to the show and the actresses, but in some ways, I've always found the intrigue part of Takarazuka just as interesting. The kind of following the politics of who's going to do what, and there's not always rhyme or reason to it, but I've always just been fascinated by it.
It's definitely the sports stats of musical fans, you know?
Yes, yes, it is. It's a good way to think of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. So I'm looking down my list of things to talk about. So, one kind of fun, unknown fact is that, Michan is the spokesgirl for Kaminomoto hair products.
I didn't know that.
Which, they do... Oh, okay. Well, now you do. So she got this position, in 2007 because Takashiro came with her. So Kaminomoto is a Japanese hair care company. I think it is aimed towards women who have somewhat thinning hair, which I've always found hilarious because I have really thick hair. But a number of Takarazuka before her, including has been a girl for it. It actually goes back a while. Yeah, I'll find a link to the page when we put the information up. And so you go into the theater, you will always see a Kaminomoto ad in the lobby. It's right across from Review Shop 2, and I always... it's right by where everyone lines up for tickets. I'm sorry, that's not going to help anyone else.
I've always wondered what that was, because every time you walk by it, I'm like, what? It seems so incongruous, but that makes sense now.
Yeah. So just always done a sponsorship. And I know we've talked about this on other episodes, but part of how Takarazuka stars make ends meet and then also have the money to have their wardrobes, to pay for all sorts of various show expenses, is that they have outside work. And for Michan, it was being this spokesgirl for Kaminomoto hair. Like, I know Mirio was or still is the Visa model. There's a couple of other big ones. And it was probably for Michan how she was able to just hang in the game for so long, because she had some financial support behind her, starting from when she was around Sanbante.
Yeah, all of the top stars have something.
Okay, but I want to talk about the kashikiri, which are the company reserved performances. So every show that Michan has been in, once in Takarazuka and then once in Tokyo, there will be a performance that is just reserved for the Kaminomoto company. Mm-hmm. And so some of it, I'm sure, goes to the actual employees, but they actually raffle off most of the tickets. You have to buy like 5,000 yen worth of these hair products, and then you you submit the receipts, and then you have a chance of getting a Kaminomoto ticket.
Wow.
Oh. 5,000 yen worth
like
of hair.
Middle school memories of cutting out like stuff on potato chip bags to try and win like a mini radio.
Or like box tops.
I actually, so for Okanimae, I actually lined up for Tojitsuken for this kashikiri because I really wanted to see it. But instead of it being normal Tojitsuken where you you go to the company side and it's a set price, instead, like, it was a line and you went to Review Shop 2, you bought like 4,000 yen worth of Kaminomoto products, and then you got your Tojitsuken ticket.
So you have a lot of thinning hair shampoo for your thick hair.
I tried. Yeah, I know. I tried to find the one that I thought was like the most generic, and of course it was at the end of my trip when I had this really heavy luggage. But I was really glad I did it, because every performance I've been to, Michan has always done something funny. Like the first one I saw was Casablanca, where, as we mentioned, Michan was wearing the fat suit. So during intermission, this was around December, she came out dressed as Santa Claus, and she was Michan Santa, who was raffling off prizes to give to us. Then during Ocean's 11, she made a lot of the ad-libs around hair care, but then I guess she and Ranju Tomu are pretty good friends, but she got Tomu to actually change the lyrics when she comes down the grand staircase at the end to all be about hair care.
Wow.
And Kaminomoto.
I hope they recorded that one.
I don't know if they did, but it was magical and pretty amazing. And then for Okanimae, it's like such a serious tearjerker show that, they didn't do anything during that part of it. But there's a scene in the review with Benny, Nanami Hiroki, and Rei Makoto where they're all come out wearing these ridiculous mustaches, and they changed the lyrics to be like, Yume? And normally it's Utsukushi Hitoyo, but it's like beautiful person, it became beautiful hair, and the whole thing was just about hair care. Yeah.
Especially with those mustaches, that's just even better.
Unfortunately, now we're at her Taidan show, because otherwise I would say, it's really fun to try to get a ticket to Kaminomoto Kashikiri, and there's usually something that's fun going on there.
I think that's true for a lot of kashikiri, though. If you can ever get a ticket to a kashikiri, like, a lot of the actresses will do special things during kashikiri performances.
Mm-hmm. Like, Jen, does Skigami still do Afro Soken?
Yes. Well, not Soken. They do it during kashikiri performances.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah. So they'll come out, like, during one of the numbers, or one or two of the numbers during the review show, usually, and they'll randomly be wearing, like, they call them Afro wigs, but they're basically clown wigs of different colors. And it's gotten more and more ridiculous as the years go on, because they just have to, like, outdo themselves every time. It gets pretty good.
And I think I heard that, like, the started because back in 2004, they wore those wigs during Sports Day, and then ever since then, it's just become a thing.
I don't know if it started on Sports Day or if they wore them on Sports Day because it was a thing. But yeah, there was probably a comedian around that time, and that's where they got it from. We'll have to go back and check. But yeah.
Okay. Wow, and here I had told everyone, like, make sure I don't talk about Michan all the whole time. Make sure that Fuu also gets in here, so I apologize that, that we got so far off track. I really do love Fuu, too.
Well, to be fair, I think most of what we've talked about with Michan so far is from, like, before Fuchan even debuted. Like, she has this whole long history on the other side of that, but yes, let's talk about Fuchan.
Let's see. So Carly, so one of the things I like about Fuu is that she's just, like, while also being really funny and having a lot of, stage presence, she's also really, like, the word that comes to my mind is in Japanese, which is majime, or, like, really serious, which isn't really the right word, because it's not like she doesn't laugh, but, like, for example, in the Sayonara issuing graph, so Fuu had her last interview, she chose Michan, and, like, right at the start of the interview, she pulls out this journal, which just meticulously, talks about, like, her first encounters with Michan and what they did and what her impressions were, and she just has this really detailed list.
Yeah, I just made the connection in my head, but I think it must have been her Taidan press conference, Fuchan's Taidan press conference. She talked about how after she became Michan's partner, she, I guess, learned a lot, or Michan influenced her a lot, specifically in how she talks to other people and treats other people. Like, Michan made her cognizant of, like, always making eye contact with people when she's talking to them, and like, making sure she invites her the younger members of the troupe out to eat and stuff like that. So I thought it was really cute that she took that and also was, like, very serious about keeping track of all of her memories of Michan, because I think they kind of go together.
Yeah, she and Fuu were kind of, and once again going back to Marimo, but it was like a similar situation where it was a kombi who I don't think had really performed together before, and yet they had a really good combination.
Yeah, definitely. That must be really hard to do, but I think that's also, like, I think Fuchan really has the right personality for that, because she's very serious and she's a very hard worker, but, like, I don't know if this is the right way to phrase it, but despite being very serious about her work, she doesn't, like, take herself too seriously. Like, she's
that makes sense to me.
Down to earth, but also, like, she can, I don't know, she has, like, a sort of carefree side to her also. Like, she seems very adaptable, but also, like, very true to herself at all times. Like, she can always be strong in whatever role she's playing, but also strong for her partner.
She's very balanced and, like, being able to, you know, kind of buckle down and get things done, obviously, but then she can also still have a good time at it. And I think you really get that sense if you, like, watch any of her, like, cafe breaks for their shows, especially, like, Guys and Dolls and Komori. Like, you can really get that sense, and she talks really fast when she's on the stage, especially if you put her with Brave Akuto, because they're classmates, I believe. They just come together, and you can tell they just really feed off of one another. And so she's got this, like, she's got a really good energy about her, and it's just always really enjoyable to watch her either in interviews or on stage or what have you. So,
fun trivia fact. So Koto and Fuu have a scene together in Guys and Dolls where they sing "Marry the Man Today." So during that, they're, like, sitting on shipping crates or something like that, and one of them actually says 95 on them for the 95th class.
That's cute.
Yeah. And the 95ths are really looking to be a power class. There's three Musume Aku who have been top star. It's Misaki Rian and Chappie, who, oh my god, what is Chappie's stage name? What is wrong with me today?
Manaki Reika.
Thank you. And then you also have Koto, who looks on track to be Nibante in Hoshigumi, and then also Yuzukare in Hanagumi, who is very star-tracked as well right now. So I would not be surprised if those two also go on to be top stars.
Yeah. There is at least one star-tracked 95th Otokuyaku in every troupe.
Yeah.
Which makes it hard for the other 95th Otokuyaku in every
Yes.
troupe, who would probably be star-tracked if they were in any other class.
Yeah. And Michan too, actually, I think it was a bit more spaced out, but there are four in her class that are top stars. It's her, then Shirahana Yuri and Tono Asuka were top stars at the same time, and then Otozuki Kei.
Oh, yeah. Oh, speaking of Otozuki Kei, this might be a little bit of a tangent, but I follow her on Instagram, and she posted this really wonderful picture of her and probably at least a dozen other OGs from their class, and they all went to go see the show recently. And it was such a cute, sweet picture.
That's so nice.
Because I think
I hope this doesn't get into... I guess I can mention this. So, similarly, when I went to see Oka, there was one day in which I was in the same row as a bunch of the retired 84th classmates, and it was super cute.
Aww.
That's awesome.
So isn't there's only one other person in her class that's left, right? Or who is that?
Yes.
It's
Oh,
Nishiroda and they're retiring together.
Yeah, so,
So that'll be the end of the class.
yeah, which is sad, but in a selfish way, I'm almost kind of glad, because it feels like, okay, well, at least it all gets to end with her. I'm sorry, that's incredibly selfish. Like, if Nishiroda had decided to stay in Takarazuka another 20 years, that also would have been awesome, because she's super talented, but...
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's been...
I understand the sentiment.
She was in, she wasn't in Komori, but she was in, Guys and Dolls, and also now, Samurai the Final. So she was in two of Michan's three top star shows.
Yeah, and then she was also in One Voice, and I forget if she was in Great Pirates or not. I'd have to look.
I think it's so awesome when classmates stick together like that.
Yeah, yeah. What I also really liked was one of Michan's classmates, Kazari Jin. She's not really star-tracked, so you might not know her unless you know Sodagumi very well. But she and Michan were close, and she retired in 2012, and Michan gave her the flowers from Doki, and then Kazari Jin came back during Mura's Senshiraku, and she gave Michan the flowers, so I thought that was really sweet.
Ooh, let's explain the flowers.
Oh, okay, yes. So Jen, tell us about the flowers.
Oh no. So when we're talking about when we're talking about like the flowers for retirement, at the end of the final show in Takarazuka and in Tokyo, when someone is retiring, they go down the grand staircase. Either if it's an otokoyaku, they're usually either in their black and green hakama, or they're in the black tuxedo, and then they give their little speech, and then they get these flowers that are shaped in either like a heart or an oval or some kind of shape, but they come in two pieces. They're these huge and very heavy, like floral arrangements, and they come in two pieces that lock together. So then one half will be brought by one of their classmates, and it could be someone who's already retired or someone who's still a member of the review, and then the other half is from the troupe that they're retiring from. And that's usually like the top star, the Nibante, brings them over. Did I forget anything?
Nope. And apparently those flowers are stupid expensive.
Yeah. That's one of the things that they are raising money for when they tell you that they need money. The fan club tells you they need money.
Like another fun fact, like even those, the arches that top stars go through, at least in Mura, as they're retiring, that's all paid for by the fan club. That's not something the company does.
Oh, wow.
And they're fresh. Let's put it that way. They're not like plastic fake flowers. Those are real flowers.
Wow.
This is why some actresses decide to retire without saying anything. They're the quiet retirements that you don't hear about until the show's over. Because they don't want the expense of it, I think.
Or also some of them will do it in a smaller theater show because that way they get to kind of say goodbye, but it's but I still think it's less expensive that way.
Yeah, they don't have to go through the whole, like, parade thing. Or not parade, but, like, there's a whole procession at your final demachi and all of that I feel like is different if you're in a small theater.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't ask you guys about this before we started. Do you want me to talk about Mura Raku at all? Is that interesting, or...?
Yeah, I think that would be fun for people to hear.
Okay, and also yell at me if I'm saying anything that my club would yell at me about. All right, and thank you, Ellen, and now going back. So I've been a Takarazuka fan for a number of years now, and even with that, Taidan is a really interesting experience, and I think especially if it's a top star Taidan. So it's like this really, really, really long day. I'm sure everyone sees the videos that go up of the stars who go in, and there's this whole special event where the Sato actually like do a little performance, but the fans are actually there several hours before that. So it was a really long day, and not only that, but it was like 75 degrees in October, which I was not happy about. And not only that, but normally when it's Iri or Demachi, it's just a matter of who gets there first. But this was so organized that I think this is standard. You're actually given a number of where you're supposed to stand during Iri, Machi, and Demachi.
That makes sense. I mean, I can't imagine trying to organize that volume of people without some kind of system.
Well, and that was the insane thing, and thankfully other clubs help you out. So both the clubs who are from Hoshigumi and then other clubs from other troupes will actually come in, and they will save the space inside the gates of the Daigekijo, and they will also just shepherd you around where to move.
Yeah, they did that in Tokyo, too. I remember doing that for Senna Jun's retirement and for Kirian's. That's when you have to get there stupid early.
Yes. And not only that, but even, so all stars have what's called a, well, I won't say all, but, you know, people who go through a regular Taidan process have what's called a sayonara party, which is kind of like an ochakai for just the club members that happens right after Senshuraku. And the most amazing thing for me was that they lined us up in order so that we could walk from Takarazuka Daigekijo to the Takarazuka Hotel, and the whole thing just kind of blew my mind.
Fan clubs are so organized. It's crazy.
And it's especially for Top Star Senshuraku, it just kind of hit this entirely different level.
Yeah.
So I was lucky enough to stay at a friend's house who lived in Takarazuka City, so at least I didn't have to commute. But I think I left the house at about 6:45 that morning, and I got back sometime around 10 or 11 at night.
That's a long day.
So really, really long day. Watch videos of sayonara shows at pen lights. That is also something that the fan club provides.
Do they only give them out to the club, though, right? They don't give them to everybody.
No, they give it out to everybody.
Oh, really? Wow, that's a lot of pen lights.
It is a lot of pen lights. I mean, yet again, why this is so expensive. And it actually, it says the date on it and everything, so it's pretty cool, actually.
I remember, this is not really related, but I was in Tokyo seeing a different show the day that So Kazuho retired, and then like walking back to the train station, I passed the Tokyo theater and like was finding So Kazuho pen lights on the ground, and it was just like a
They dropped them?
or I don't know, or if there were so many people, it wasn't like a lot, and you know, there's no like litter in Japan, but there were one or two. I don't know if people lost theirs or what, but
Probably in the
I
crush.
remembered.
It gets crazy.
I just remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. I mean, I have mine sitting on my bookshelf right now. So. And then you see people auction them off on Yahoo Auctions as well.
We should put pictures up of all the pen lights we've got.
Am I allowed to do that? Is my club going to yell at me? But no, I do have also just the number of like things I have. Like I still have this pen light from Aran K, where her club decided to give them out for the Raku of the Red and the Black for whatever reason. It's a cool pen light.
I've got this bag of like junk, like Ochakai junk and other junk, and I'm like, someday I'm gonna find a Takarazuka fan who wants this, so I'm not gonna throw it out yet.
Yeah, and it's too bad because whereas with something with Graph, I feel fine about just selling it on the internet. Even for stars who have retired, I don't want to give away fan club, or I don't want to publicly sell fan club goods because it's just considered something you're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's a little less strict, I guess, once they're retired because no one's watching as much, but it would still make me feel weird.
Yeah, absolutely. When you go into the Takarazuka on and you see all the, like, fan club goods, I'm always like, ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Alright, so let's talk about, let's do memorable roles for both Michan and Fuu, and then maybe what you think is going to come next for them.
My, I'll just go with what I've seen live because that helps me narrow it down, even if it might not be like my top favorite or what would have been my top favorite performance. But, so, and this is actually probably like my strongest memory of Michan anyway, is when I saw Hanagumi Elizabeth in 2014, she made me cry twice. And I've seen Elizabeth God knows how many times, and I was excited to be seeing it in person, but I don't know, it was good. It's not my favorite version of Elizabeth. And Franz Joseph is not an exciting character to me. So I was, also I'm a Diamond fan, so I was expecting that to be the highlight for me, but Michan was my favorite part of that show. She made me cry for Franz Joseph twice. And I have such a strong memory of when she came out of the floor for the finale. She looked so princely and beautiful, you know, after shedding the mutton chops from the end of the actual performance, that it like took my breath away. And that's probably my strongest Michan memory. Fuu-chan, I'm so sad that I've only seen Fuu-chan live once. I saw Komori this spring, and it was cute. It was funny. I laughed a lot. It's one of those shows that like I enjoyed, but I didn't really feel a burning need to go see it again. And Fuu-chan was really, really cute in it and really bubbly and really good, but like just because of the nature of the show, I don't think it was a great showcase of all of her talents. Because it's just so, so ridiculous.
It's like eating a cream puff, like very sweet and not a lot of substance.
It is like eating a cream puff. It's like eating a cream puff while somebody like shines lights in your face. But anyway, I think my favorite memory was actually, I saw the Shinjin Koen, which was really fun. Because I really didn't know anybody who's an underclassman in Hoshigumi, so it was really fun to learn about all these people. But usually right before the show starts, the main cast comes in all together in a line, and they kind of like wave to the audience and all sit down in one section of the seats. So they come in lined up in seniority order, and Fuu-chan is last in line. And again, she looks so happy that I thought she was going to cry. Like, she was just so happy to be there watching the Shinjin Koen, and so like proud of everybody. And it was just, even though it wasn't like a show moment, just, it was really heartwarming. And I feel that way about Fuu-chan a lot. I tailored my Twitter followers to include very specific people, and one of them is Fuu-chan, because she's just always so happy at Irimachi that looking at her smile makes you feel like, okay, I can get up and do this today. She's just like, she's an inspiring person for how happy and just loving of everything she is.
That is awesome. Can I?
Those are my memories.
Can I clarify? You're not actually following Fuu-chan on Twitter. You're following people who follow her.
No. I'm following, yes, people who post Irimachi photos. And there are a lot of the awesome photographers who do gallery in front of the theaters have their preferences. So a lot of them will just post everybody, but a lot of them will stick with specific troupes. So you can kind of get more of certain people on your timeline if you do it right.
Yeah. You mind if I go next?
Go for it.
Awesome. So as I mentioned earlier, my first introduction to Takarazuka was the Hanagumi production of Elizabeth with Michan as Franz Joseph. And to be honest, I don't remember very specifically much about that production, because I think I was like really overwhelmed afterwards at the time. But Michan was one of the things that I remember very clearly, and having watched my DVD over and over and over again, she's still one of my favorite parts. And I remember like showing people when I came back to the States, and I was showing people who didn't know anything about Takarazuka, and I'd like play like her voice for them and be like, this, and just be like, see how amazing she is. And just the wonderful warmth and quality of her voice has always kind of really like followed me through so far being a Takarazuka fan. She's actually the actress that I've seen the most live since we saw that version. Then we saw Guys and Dolls so many times last year, and then came back again this past year for Samurai the Final specifically. But I've always just been so impressed seeing her at Irimachi and Daimachi. We were there over Halloween last year, and we actually weren't. We were at Chanter for something else, and we came out of the building, and they were doing Daimachi on Halloween, and Michan had gifts for her fan club. She was handing them all like a card or something. But she didn't have enough, so she ran out of these cards, and she like stops and she like turns it back upside down to show that they're empty. She's like, oh man, and then she starts shaking the hand of every person who didn't get a card. And we're standing like across by Chanter, she's on the opposite side, we're standing over there and watching this, and I just remember the woman next to me being like, oh, sugoi suguru. She's like, she's too amazing. And like that's just the impression that like I feel like everyone or a lot of people get of her, because she's just such an incredible like warm person, and like just seeing her smile is just always makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. So yeah. That was I was just gonna say, Al and I ran a panel for Takarazuka at Anime Boston earlier this spring, and we were describing each of the troupes, and we were showing like the top stars and whatnot. We got to meet Chan, and there was maybe like a couple of dozen, if that, people in the room, and we got to meet Chan. We showed this picture of her smiling, and literally everyone goes, "Aww." And we were like, yes, that's exactly the reaction you should have. So. But then you always hear so many stories kind of like that about like her going out of her way to help people or just being really kind. So in addition to being a really amazing performer, she's just I've always had this impression of her being this really incredible person. So.
I want to go last, so Jen, if you have anything to say.
Oh, yeah, did you have anything about Fuu-chan?
Oh. Yeah, well, like I said, I don't know, only experienced Fuu, like, for her top star, era, though, I remember her, going back when I knew who she was and watching Napoleon again. I was really enjoyed her. She was Pauline in that, I think it's one of Napoleon's sisters. So it was a fairly small role, but like once you recognize her, like once you start to recognize people, you can go in and pick them out in their previous roles. So, and she had the Shinko lead for that one, I believe, as well. But I loved her in Guys and Dolls as well. She just had this really strong presence, and in Guys and Dolls, the scene where she's drunk in Cuba.
Yes.
Oh my god. I actually thought she was going to fall off the stage because she was so good at acting drunk. And
she totally stole that scene. It was amazing.
Yeah.
She does. So I'm sorry this sounds so crude, but she does the best butt wiggle in that scene. It's really adorable.
But I just love that scene every time we come to it. I just remember, like, being in the theater and being like, Fuu, don't fall down. She was just that convincing. So.
That's, like, a perfect example of, like, not being so concerned with being too cute and just being able to completely let go because she's so confident in herself, and it really worked out.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, she really went for it, and she really goes for it. Like, she just goes right for it, and I think that it really works out for her, especially because obviously, like, Michan doesn't hold back. So.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I haven't seen Michan and Fuu's Guys and Dolls yet, but like Rika's Guys and Dolls was the one that really got me into Takarazuka. So like, this is confession time. I haven't seen any of Michan's shows as top star, but I'm kind of like,
it's okay, Jen.
I'm really, really looking forward to it because it's like, as I go through being a Takarazuka fan, this is like year 11 or 12 now, and like all of the babies that I saw who are like Shinko leads are like all retired, and the cycle goes on, but I'm kind of like, I don't have as much of an attachment to the ones who are coming up now, so like I haven't even watched all of Masaki's shows as top star, but I'm hoarding them. So I'm like, once I finish all of Masaki's shows, then I'll have Michan to look forward to. And so I'm like super excited about this. So hearing everybody talk about how good they are, I'm like, yay. But
yeah, I love that. So good.
So memories. I'm like trying to figure out, I've seen so much with Michan, but it's all older stuff. I think her Shinko lead as Francis was really quite impressive. Yeah,
legendary.
Plus, like a lot of people didn't like Rika's wig as Francis, so I have to say, like, Michan's wig was a lot better. Francis' wig. I
just want to say, so about that Shinko lead as Francis, so Rika already had a very, like, low, costume in that show, and Michan somehow
I knew that's where this was going.
managed to make it even lower.
I remember
to the point
that.
I think you just wonder like how this was
I think
working.
that's the thing that's legendary about it.
Yeah, it's a very low cut costume. Sorry, that's crude.
That was like from the era where they were actually commercially selling the Shinjin Koen, so it was actually available on VHS. Like, you could actually go out and buy it, which was pretty cool. I think it was like you could get it with the DVD as well. I think the DVD came with like the digest of the Shinko, so
maybe I own the. I think
doing that again.
I think that was before then because I owned the DVD and I feel like I would have remembered that.
Are you sure? I think it was on there. I'll double check.
One moment. Okay, I'm proving this.
I've got the VHS for the Shinko, so that might be what I'm remembering. But while you're looking, let me think. So as much as I like complained about the fat suit, like the other role that I really loved Michan in was in Casablanca because she had the most expressive, like cynical eyebrows. Like it was perfect for the role of the cynical police officer, and I really, really loved her in Casablanca. But I have to agree with Heidi. Like, there's some actresses that I really love for their offstage persona, even more than, like, their performance. And I think Mi-chan's one of them. Like, I have so many memories of her just, like, talking and laughing and smiling at her fans that, like, you couldn't, like, not fall in love with Mi-chan, which is, you know, when I hear the catty fans, I'm like, how could you, like, she's an adorable cream puff. You are a cruel and unusual human being. Like, do not attack Mi-chan. Like, you have to love her. Yeah.
I've heard people compare her to Totoro before, which I think is pretty good comparison.
Okay, I don't know who started that, but there this is weird. Maybe I'll put a picture of it on the blog. I think it was last year or the year before, whenever, it must have been the year before, whenever they announced that she was going to be the new top star of Hoshigumi and everyone was kind of surprised. I made a Christmas card for all of my friends that I sent out, and it was like Hoshigumi as the cast of Hero with me.
Carly, please put up a picture. I want to see that.
Yes, I have to see this.
I hope I still have it. I'll look for it.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I have another cute Mi-chan offstage story that is probably fine to share because it was posted publicly. So there's a cafe on the Hananomichi called Izumi, which if you go to Takarazuka regularly, you should go there. It's run by a woman and her husband, and they're both just the sweetest people on the face of the planet, and you should go there and make friends with them and eat their food.
And pay them for it. Pay them for
anyway,
the food.
The woman who runs it, yes, pay them for it. Apparently, as told on the Izumi Facebook page, right before, I think I must have been in between Senshiraku for Takarazuka and when the troupe left for Tokyo, right before Mi-chan left for Tokyo for the last time, she was going around to all of the shops on the Hananomichi and giving them roses, which I thought was really sweet.
That's so cute. Isn't she?
And so Mi-chan.
Doesn't she like also sometimes hand deliver like the signed posters? I thought I heard that.
I think that's fairly. Actually, well, I know all of the shops around there have the signed posters. I guess I don't know if they hand deliver them.
I think what's more unusual is I think most of the time they arrive in the mail.
Oh,
yeah.
Really? Oh.
But I would not be surprised if she hand delivered them.
Yeah. We actually, when we went there, I think we took the overnight bus from Tokyo, and we were gonna go see a show later that day, but after we did Tojutsuken, so like we got our tickets and then we were just starving. So we're like, where can we go eat? And we just happened to stop into Izumi. We were the only ones in there, and we got the like omuraisu. And which was really delicious, so definitely go and eat their food because it's really good. But yeah, the woman started talking to us, and she was like, "Oh, why are you here?" And we told her that we were there to see Hokushou Kairi, and she just like, she was so sweet. She's like, "Oh, we love Hokushou-san, and she's so wonderful, isn't she?" And yeah, so they really love her there.
Have you been back? Because she'll remember you.
No, that was our first time going. So.
Oh man.
I also have to say for that show, whenever I'm in Japan, I'm usually staying at a friend's house. It's not like I'm cooking for myself. And after a while of eating kombini food, I just start feeling so malnourished. So I was just so grateful for the morning set at Izumi's because at least like it had a little bit of salad in it, and there was like cheese in the omelet, and like I think that prevented me from getting scurvy.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
It's every time I go to Japan, between like the nerves and the excitement and just like the inability to get myself together and like out the door at a reasonable time, I go on like a week and a half onigiri diet.
Feel that. So true.
I hope they continue working because I'm gonna miss them. I mean, I imagine they will. I think I'm less worried about Mi-chan than Fu-chan because I don't really know what type of work Mi-chan is going to do, but I just have a hard time seeing her, like, never singing again. I mean, I can see her doing a lot of concerts and stuff like Zunko does. And recently, I feel like the trend in retiring top Musumeyaku is that they, Ayuchi's been really, really active on stage. Nene's been really, really active on stage. Ranohana's been really active on stage, and I hope Fu-chan joins them because I would like the opportunity to see her more than once.
Selfishly, I really hope that she starts like playing the sax in like jazz clubs, and I want her to come to New York and play the sax in the jazz club.
That would be fantastic. She should come to New York City.
Yes, she should. She talked about this publicly, so I feel okay sharing it. Right before Elizabeth started, she actually took a 2-week vacation to New York, so that was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Come back sometime.
Yeah. I didn't get to share my stuff, so
yeah, go for it. I didn't mean to switch it to what.
No, not at all. So, with Fuu, I would say, I'm gonna steal, I think it was Heidi who said that she really loved Guys and Dolls. It's, I've always found Guys and Dolls, even when I was a precocious 5th grader, to be really problematic. No, really, I remember being in, watching it at my local high school and being but why does he give up his entire life for her? And I felt Michan and Fuu's dynamic made it work to the point where I was able to at least ignore the kind of problematic aspects of their story, and they just had such good chemistry in that show, and as I already said, I love it when Fuu is drunk in that scene. She's just so adorable.
So cute.
I'm sorry, Fuu. I wish I had something else a little more eloquent than that to say. So I'll just say again that I really, really appreciate how supportive she's been of Michan, and I'm really glad that they got to be partners together. And then on the Michan side, for me the most memorable show is The Merry Widow, which was back during Senka era. And for me, that was the show where I kind of went, okay, she totally has this top star thing down, if she's given a chance. And unfortunately, it's not available on DVD, but it's a very, very good show. And I wouldn't say this is totally true, but I remember after watching it just thinking, it's not going to get any better after this because I have hit the top of where it could be. And it's certainly, it's still one of my favorite shows. It's just really beautifully sung and acted, and it's hilarious, and I love it so much.
I'm surprised they didn't release it with her retiring. Usually they go back and release all the lead shows.
I think it might have, it's based on an operetta, so it might have been a copyright thing.
That's true.
Because even back during the time, people were upset that it wasn't released, and I'm pretty sure it's because of the copyright.
Gotcha.
Merry Widow is what I wanted Komori to be.
I think we all did, and I think they were trying to replicate it, and I still like Komori. It's cute and fluffy, and the entertainer is amazing. In terms of favorite memory, I kind of feel like I can't do too much without just starting to tell Ochikai stories, and I don't want to go there. So what I will say is that in her last interview in Graph, and I hope I'm paraphrasing this right, someone correct me if I'm wrong later, So, in the last paragraph of the last interview, she talks about how lots of fans had written her to say, watching you on stage gives me courage, or it gives me strength, but then but even more than that, she felt like she got a lot of strength from the fans, and that kind of just, it really hit me in the heart.
Yeah.
Because I have personally just written a lot among that theme in when I write fan letters a lot, being watching this show and looking forward to going to Japan, it really has given me strength to get through a lot of tough stuff that's happening in life. So for her to say that, I also got strength from my fans, and, and that that was something that she really appreciated too. That meant a lot to me.
Oh,
Aw.
so sweet.
And since you guys are kind of talking about what comes next, my personal pipe dream is that they will there's a Disney musical version of Aladdin, and so they need to bring that to Japan so she can play the genie.
Yes. Yes.
But I have no doubt in my mind that she'll do something. What, I don't know, but I don't have any doubts. And I'm excited to see what comes next.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Me too.
I know a lot of people have said that she would be a really good voice actress, a seiyuu, like for anything,
Yeah.
anime
Oh, yeah,
or
that could
movie
also
dubs.
happen.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and to explain, the genie comment, most of the listeners probably know already, but it's because of the CD, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe she did it in Love and Dream too, but it originated with the CD.
Yeah, well,
right.
Love and Dream, she just gets this small part as the genie, but on the CD and then the making of DVD, you can actually, like, she does all the genie voices and all the faces that go with it.
It's a really good CD if you like Disney. And
This is the
Hoshigumi.
Takarazuka Sings Disney CD.
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
I hate to say that one of my favorite parts of that CD is that I'm just assuming that Michan got some say in which song she sang, and so her songs are from Aladdin and from Hunchback of Notre Dame. You know, all the songs that would have been really big when she was probably in elementary school or middle school. And then Fuu-chan picks Rapunzel, which, you know, going like probably 10 years later is what would have been really big.
That's a good point.
It's a good CD, though. Yeah, you can get it on Amazon, I think.
You must be able to.
Yeah, sometimes I still want to talk about how back in my day we had to walk uphill both ways in the snow to get our Takarazuka stuff. Actually, I can't really say that. I became a Takarazuka fan when I was living in Japan, so I actually had to be
I was going to say, if only it were as easy as walking uphill 2 ways in the snow. I probably would have had a lot more success back in like 2005 or whatever.
Well, Carly, you're from the East Coast. That must be easy for you.
Yeah, well. I don't like it. I don't like walking in the snow.
Just because we do it doesn't mean we like it.
Oh dear. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining me today and talking about Michan and Fuu with me.
Yeah. I wish them all the best luck and happiness in the future.
Yes. And if I haven't said this explicitly in the podcast, best of luck to Benny and Kisaki Airi.
Yes.
And it looks both Om Shanti Om and Pimpernel look like a lot of fun.
Man.
So I'm
So
They're
excited.
going to be crazy.
Can't wait.
Oh yeah. And I will say Michan herself has made like a point to say that, you know, she feels really confident in, you know, the next leaders of Hoshigumi. So I feel like any kind of bitterness I've gotten over this being only a 3-show run, I feel like if Michan is supporting them, then I need to also just be supportive. So go Benny and I.
Yay.
Yay!
Many thanks to Michael B. and the Arcanum String Quartet for their wonderful arrangement of Sumire no Hana Sakugoro. And thank you, listeners, for enjoying our podcast.